Okay, my name is Gordon Kenneson. And
Are you from Windsor?
I live in Windsor. I've lived here for 65 years. I arrived in 1956 in the back of a pickup truck. And the Windsor Shopping Center didn't exist at the time. There were big mounds of dirt, which I grew up playing in. But we were moving into the Deerfield section of Windsor. And we lived in Hartford, and my dad was sort of in the process of starting his own business, but we ended up moving, and so he worked out of the home in Windsor, but lived there for quite a few years, and I really remember Deerfield as being a very special place. It was a true section of Windsor. It was, everybody said I live in a neighborhood. Well, it was a defined neighborhood. Had the river on one side, or the railroad tracks, depending how far you were allowed to go, and then it had on the other side what used to be Windsor Avenue had become Deerfield Road in the 40s, and running off of that were all the streets, and all the avenues went east to west, and all of the streets went north to south, and it was very defined. And I lived one block away, two blocks away from Deerfield School. Now, those who know Deerfield School have to be at least about my age because they tore it down. It is now, I guess, a park, but I can't go home anymore, as they say. But it was a wonderful place. And we walked to school, never had a school bus, and we never had to cross a busy street. Some kids who went to Deerfield apparently did, but not when I was there. But we had the same 20-some-odd kids from the day I walked into that school in 1956 to the day I left it in 1960. And one or two kids came or went or whatever, but it was basically all the same people. So I knew everybody. I still remember all the names. We weren't necessarily all hanging out together, but we all knew each other. And well, I could, but no. But I haven't kept in contact, obviously. I mean, this is, grade school. But the other day, I volunteer at the Windsor Historical Society, and I went there, and they said, there's somebody here who wants to see you. And he's gone off for lunch. He'll be right back. He just came in from Colorado. Well, it turned out to be one of my sixth grade, actually he only made it to fifth grade class buddies who lived one street over from me in Deerfield. And now he lives with his family in Colorado. But he has family still here in the Hartford area. And his brother's an airline pilot, so he can go back and forth for a very inexpensive price, and he comes to visit. Well, he'd seen me on Facebook and wanted to know if I was the same kid that grew up in Deerfield. And I was. So we got talking. And a very interesting story came out of that. In fact, I hope to do something for the Historical Society about it, because he was telling me that we would walk everybody walked more or less the same distance to the school. But he and I were coming from the same area and went around this way. And he said 3 houses away from the school, there was this woman who kept calling him in. Well, I thought that was a little bit risque, but it turned out that she was just lonely, and she had stories to tell. And she had stories to tell about her late husband, and she said he had something to do with Admiral Byrd. Well, that's all he remembered. So I decided I'd look into it. So the first thing I did was he remembered, I looked at the orange directories, and I found out people who lived 3 houses from the school back when we were walking. And I found a list of names, and then I compared it to a list of people who had ever gone with Admiral Byrd anywhere. And by gosh, there was a fellow by the name of Harold June. Mr. June spent his later days in Windsor, in Deerfield. He's now buried in Arlington Cemetery, but he was the pilot and went on all the expeditions with Admiral Byrd. So he was at this pole and that pole and got, stranded. Back then they were still using sailing ships, and they had to go on those. Really a wonderful, wonderful story, and all kinds of things. So that's what I want to work on. Other than that, what would you like to know? Ask me a question.
Where did you hang out growing up?
Home. We were a very isolated little neighborhood, and that's why when people say, well, do you remember such and such? I'm going, well, where was that? Was that in the center? Yeah, no, we didn't go there.
So
We had,
there for fun.
we had there was a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and there was an old abandoned golf course, a golf course that was built back in the 30s, and we used to play there. There was no golf, but there was, caves and places to hide. And I got shot at there one day because somebody else was hunting and didn't realize how far a bullet would go, I guess. Missed me about, I'm guessing, 6 inches by the sound. But we'd go sledding and sliding there, and we had plenty to do in the neighborhood.
Did you shop in Wilson?
Not so much, no. Later on in high school, yeah, we would go to Sid's, but that was about it. Now, Deerfield ended at Windsor Avenue on one end of Deerfield Road, and it ended at Windsor Avenue on the other end. And that's where we pretty much all stayed. And there was always something to do. We had a lot of fun.
Are you a Windsor High graduate?
I hope to be. No, yeah, I graduated from Windsor High in 1967. And
Then you went back there and taught some more, right?
no, I never taught there. No,
Did you teach in Windsor though?
no,
Oh.
no, no. Well, I did. I take it back. I did do some teaching. I was with the special ed,
You gave us a picture of you teaching.
yeah, that's right. That was the Spark program. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was.
Did you work in Windsor?
Yeah, we were again in a building that they have since torn down. It was one of the incarnations of the Roger Wilkins School, and they tore that down just after I left, which is what they do. Everywhere we go, they tear the building down. I went to Leland P. Wilson. This was a school. They didn't tear it down, but they turned it into something else. So I can't go back to my old schools. I could go to Windsor, but they probably wouldn't let me in. Any other questions? I can't see the sign. They've got this lovely list of things to talk about, but I'm old and blind.
Were your parents from Windsor?
Oh, good Lord, no. No, they came all the way from East Hartford and Vermont. My father was born in East Hartford, but he spent a lot of his life because, well, family story, but his mother left the family. And he spent a lot of his time in Canada, where most of our relatives come from, or many of them, back a few generations. And then he ended up, like I say, in Hartford. And he was very busy. He was the executive director of the Greater Hartford Industrial, Greater Hartford Business Association. That was Greater Hartford County Business Association. So that was a pretty busy job, especially during the war, because Hartford was one big industrial city, and they were responsible for all of those industries.
So I heard that you were in the Latin club at Windsor High. You were the clown.
No, I've always been extremely serious. I used to be extremely shy, but I don't know, I did do some stuff that didn't disprove that at Windsor High School. But also I had a drama teacher, and I want to give him credit, Ernie Cirillo. He taught me how to stand up in front of 300 people and jabber away and not be the least bit concerned. I could project across an entire auditorium, and he gave me such confidence, and I had a lot of fun doing it too. But anyway, I was in the Latin Club in Windsor High School. It was an interesting group of people, and I can't tell a lot of the stories there because some of them are, well, just say I can't tell them. But we used to have a lot of fun with that too. We used to put on plays and skits and all kinds of things.
Did you wear togas?
Some of the people wore togas. I wore a wizard's outfit because I was one of the witches. I was the witch in the group. It was a very pagan thing. We were doing the Aeneid in that one. But a lot of people who take Latin, of course, have never read the Aeneid, so.
Do you have a joke to tell about the Aeneid?
Not anymore. Not on public television, no. But what else do you want to know?
Back to the whole wizard's outfit. For the life of me, I know for sure, but I'm not quite sure. But did you and a group wear something like that for the Windsor Feud?
As a matter of fact, I did. It was not the same one, but it was. And I remember when I wore it in the Windsor Feud, I got a letter from my minister, the minister at that time at First Church, who said, we used to hang people for dressing like that. And he sent a picture from the Windsor Journal He was just joking, of course. So,
How has Windsor changed since you were young?
well, how to summarize that? The more things change, the more they stay the same. But I mean, obviously, people have come and gone one way or another. There's a lot more houses. Traffic on Windsor Avenue is a whole lot more like traffic on the highway. When I first moved here, there wasn't even a highway. And like I said, the Windsor Shopping Center was a pile of dirt that we used to play in. There were ponds there. It was really, a lot more open, I guess is what you'd say. Now, not that I begrudge having people and other things around me, but, the house I live in now in Windsor was built in 1937 on what had been a farm, so over the years, it's obviously gotten more citified. But it's still a great place to live.
Okay.
That's it.
I think it's good. Well, do you want to sit here for a while?
I could talk forever.
You really could.